Today on the workbench I've got a new project here. This is a Proto1000 RS2 and it is DC, so we're going to upgrade this to DCC today. We're going to put in one of the new Blunami PNP 8 decoders in it. We'll get to try this out. I haven't done one of these, I haven't filmed one of these. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to put a Keep Alive in it, and it'll be a TCS KA2 that we'll end up putting in this. And then I've got two speakers. These are from SBS for DCC, 11 by 15 speakers. I don't know if you can see that with the light glaring off of it, but they're 11 by 15, and they're only like, I think, 7-8 millimeters deep. So, because there's not a lot of space in these. But let's go ahead and get started. Of course, to take this apart, we'll just remove our couplers, and we'll change out our couplers too. I'll upgrade those. I'll put KDs in that. Get rid of these old plastic couplers. Let's remove this front screw here. We will actually, I guess, the rear screw. I'll put this. You can see it's labeled here. The long hood has the F on it, so we'll run this long hood forward. But since those two screws are out, these shells on these, they just lift right off. So that's fairly straightforward. Well, it's really straightforward, nothing fairly about it. I'll go through this, make sure that the gears aren't cracked. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. It's really not a hard install. We'll go ahead and pull this board out. I don't need this cover here. Yeah, I know I thought there was a slot in that. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these black wires or pickup wires. We'll go ahead and cut that because we're not saving any of it. The red wires are for this incandescent bulb. We're not going to use that. I just toss that stuff. Take that out of there. Pull this rear light out. Toss that. And then we'll go for our pickups there. And then there's just two screws that hold that board in. So we'll get rid of those. And then, of course, we have our motor wires. Let's clip them. Set that off to the side. And for what these are an open frame motor in these old locomotives, but they do run really well in these things. So I'm going to leave that motor in there. I'll go ahead and I'll pull it out. Well, actually, this motor is isolated already because it's not using the frame as a pickup, electrical pickup. So we won't have to do anything to that. I will actually, I do want to pull that out. It looks like that's kind of loose. So let me see what's going on here. Pull that screw out. You can see they have this bottom contact, or they've got it isolated. They've got tape over it. So the motor was isolated. Let's see, I do want these to come out on the same side. Let me open this up, this decoder up. I want to see how I'm going to put this and where I need to put the motor wires. So I'm going to run that decoder just like that. This will give me the long hood forward. And my motor pickups are over here. So I do want both of my motor wires to come out on this side. So I'm going to take and pull this piece of tape off here, which wasn't on there very well. And I'll end up loosening this nut up. I think I may have to pull this apart, because it looks like that is soldered. It's got some solder stuck to it there. Let me see something a minute. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull that all out. And I'll show you this here in a second. Make sure I don't lose my screw. Actually, I'll turn my soldering iron on. So we've got that little spring in there that we don't want to lose, that holds our brush down. So what I'm going to do, well, that came off. I didn't have to unsolder it. So it's just soldered to a wire there. We're good. So I'm going to put that over here on this side. And then when I put it back together, I'll use Kapton tape to put it back together. Sometimes what I was going to do was, I thought I was going to have to heat that up to remove the solder off of the brass nut here, but it wasn't on there very good, so I didn't have to do that. So I'm going to get some alcohol out here and kind of clean this off. That way I could put a piece of tape across it. Close my alcohol back up so I don't knock that over. And I like not to touch this with my fingers, just so it'll stay sticky. So I try to use my tweezers when I can. Okay, so there we're good to go there. Now I can go ahead and there we go. Get that wire up in that groove. There's that side. So we've got our motor in there. We've got our wiring on the right side. There we go. Now our motor's in good shape. Now we can take, I am going to clean the top of this off. Because what I'm going to do when I set this down on here, I can use the 2 screws to secure it, but I'm also going to take a piece of double-sided tape and put here on top of the motor. That way we won't be touching anything from the motor. So I've got that wiped off. And I'll probably have to use 2 pieces of tape here. Well, oh, I didn't need 2 pieces of tape. So, well, I end up pulling both of them off. So I'm glad I had to do that because I want to shorten these motor wires up. Yeah, that'll work out better there. So on the original board, my black wire was the negative. So that's the way I'm going to hook this back up. So this is my negative lead. So let me cut this off and then strip and get it tinned. That ought to be good. that. Clean that off a touch. Okay, there's that side. And then I want to do that side. So I'm going to cut that off right there. So we've got both of our motor leads. All ready to go. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try and stick that up through the bottom. Put some flux on it. So there's that one, and now I'm going to pull this one through. So I'm going to pick this up and look at it here. Okay. All right, now let me pull my tape off. We're ready to stick this down. Before I stick it down, I'm going to make sure that I've got a couple of screws in the back here. That way it won't move around. I may only be able to get one in it. Yep, I'm only going to be able to get one in it because of the way that, I guess because of the way it's laid out. But one will hold it with that tape. So we are in I have no worries that that will not stay. So, all right, tighten that down all the way. And like I say, yeah, I wish that was a little bit, that hole was a little bit bigger, but I don't want to ream that hole out any because it could get into some of the electronics of that board. But yeah, there we go. So, all right, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, let's go ahead and hook up our track pickups, and then we can try this thing out. And I think I've got something going wrong with my bench light. Every once in a while, for some reason, it just decides that it's going to flicker on and off. I wonder now if I can get well, I was hoping I could maybe get them up in. That way I can just, since I've run that pickup up through there, I'll use some liquid flux, and then I can just heat that up after I clean it off, clean this off. So there's the first one. Now let me turn this around. If I'll have any better luck if I use my okay. Well, that didn't work. Let me trim that off. There we go. So that was more trouble than it was worth. So now you can put in the rear, or actually that's the front. Get rid of some stuff here. So let me do this time. Instead of fighting, trying to get those in there while they're loose. So there's that one. And there's that one. So that's what I should have done on the other side. But either way, we've got them all in there now. Okay, so we have everything hooked up. The way I wanted it. And now, let's see. There, just pushed one of the sides of the windows out. Everything still goes together good, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off here right now and I'm going to make sure that it works the way I want it to. So, all right, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so it does work the way I wanted it to. This is the reverse. This is the rear. This is the front, long hood front. So now we can go ahead and we'll get our keep alive. And the way we're going to do our keep alive, and the bad thing about this is you'll be able to see it through the window, but I mean it's no big deal. So I am going to take and let me get that, push that wire over that way, and then push that one back that way. And I can take this keep alive and put it right here. And I've got this off of this is actually off of another current keeper, the plug that plugs in for it. So let me get my alcohol back out because I need to clean where I'm going to put this. So now, get out a couple of little pieces of double-sided tape here. I'll wire that up when I put my plug on it here in a second. Just trimming that up a little bit. That. Let me turn this around. This will plug in here for our keep alive. And I'll take and trim. Let me see something a minute. Well, no, I can't. What I was gonna do, I was looking at that, I was gonna see if I could take that wire out of there and then do something else with it, but I don't think I can do that. That way I could have still used the plug. Anyway, let me go ahead and I'm going to cut these down. That out of the way. So we'll just make we'll make a connection here. Strip that. and that. And then I can strip these two wires. Okay. Now, what I've done is I've put some flux on this little piece of plastic here. Okay, there's that. Now we'll go ahead and tin all this. Okay, so got that tinned. Now I want to get some heat shrink. Get some stuff out of the way. There's the end of my wire, or heat shrink. So now, let's see, let me turn this around here to where I can do this a little easier. So our blue is positive. And the black is negative. Let me clean that tip off a little bit. Okay. Well, Okay, so we've got our plug on there. Can plug that in. And I'll tuck that up and around there. Yeah, I don't like that. Do it this way. Okay, there we go. We've got our Keep Alive wired up. Now we can move on to our speakers. So now our speakers, like I say, these are from SBS for DCC, and they're 11 by 15. They're about, I think, 7-8 millimeters deep. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to mount them in the shell. I'm going to mount them right to that light tower. And so those are thin enough. I can mount them right to that tower. They'll be out of the way. And I'll use double-sided tape for that. And it is strong enough to hold them there. So, because they don't weigh anything. But let's go ahead and we'll get that clean. And I'll clean that side. And then clean the speaker. And I'll hook these in series. Double-sided tape back out. So there's that piece. So get this double-sided tape started here. And you can see that stays there quite nicely. Now, let me get this other one. And as long as you get this stuff clean, this tape will last a long time. So make sure we get that pressed in there real good. So I'm picking that up with those speakers. So Now all I got to do is wire those up. So we'll get some wire out here. We'll get some sound in this thing. I'll go ahead and get these tinned and fluxed. Let me just a little more. And I go ahead and do, you know, both sides of that while I got it loose. And so now I'm going to take and tin up the speakers. Probably should have done it before I put them on there, but I didn't. Get my solder fixed here. Okay, so I may have to, yeah, I think I can do it without turning you off there for a minute, I think. Okay, so now what I'll do, let me go ahead and I'll put one wire here, and let me get something better to hold that with. I'm going to try to feed that underneath that Keep alive. That way it'll keep that wire low. And I need to go over to this side over here. Well, actually, I need to go right straight across from it. I don't think I could get lucky enough to This way you won't see this speaker wire at all. So I went from one side to the other without that being able to be seen. Go ahead and cut that. And so basically what I'm doing is going from one positive side to the negative side of the other. Okay, now I can go, because these two are my speakers, so I'll take this wire and let's see if we can kind of feed it through to where we can't make it real, where it won't be real visible but still out of the way. I don't think I'll ever be able to feed that up through that way. No, well, let me feed it up through there. That'll get it mostly out of the way. That off of there. Now, we just need to get this other wire which that should be long enough. So I'm going to turn this around again so I can solder this to the speaker. Turn it back around and see if I can't feed that. Well, I can kind of see it there. As long as I can get a hold of it. That'll work out good the way I ran that. I ran it, it'll hold the Keep Alive wire tucked in there. We'll go ahead and strip that off. And there's really no difference in the flux that I'm using, whether it be this paste or the liquid. I just have them both available, and I use what I mean, there is kind of a method to the madness. And I think I'd say this in just about every video, but I will take, and if I'm soldering on the board, I use the paste or the liquid, and if I just have plain wires, most of the time I just use the paste, because I can just stick it in. So there we've got it wired and together. So we should have sound. We've got our Keep Alive. The only thing we've got left is our lights. But I'm going to test this out and take a break, so I'll be back. Okay, we're back here, and I'm going to start on the lights. So what we've got is this. Let's see which one of these is I'm looking at the wiring diagram here. I always have to do that because I can never remember. So this side right here, this is this is the plus, and this is the negative side. And then the same up here. This side is our common, or the positive, and then this is our function side, or the negative. So I'm going to put a resistor on the negative side of each one of these. And I've got these are 2000 ohm resistors. So let's see if we can do this. I want to try. Cut that off a little bit. And then put some flux on that. And I'm just going to mount the resistor right to the board. And then let's see, I believe the long side is the positive, so let's see. Yep, the long side is the positive. So what I can do is put this together just like this. Well, I'll put some heat shrink on there. Let me trim that off. Actually, I don't want to do that like that. I'd rather have, I'll put a piece of wire in between. That way I don't have the metal metal touching anything. So we'll get us a piece of wire. Tin that up. Okay. And normally I make these up off camera. Put them on. I don't know why I chose to do this one this way, but and I just turn that stuff around because it's easier for me to work on. Get some more heat shrink here. And I was about to do something really dumb there. I was about to grab that tip and wipe it off with my finger. Luckily, I did not do that. That out of the way. And I'll have to put a piece of heat shrink on that before I seal it up or solder it together. Actually, I don't need that one. I want a piece of... Oop, dropped my phone. Piece of thinner. Heat shrink. Now we'll do the other side here. I'll get this side done and then I'll do the other side off camera. No need for you to watch me do this twice. So I'm gonna turn my DCC system off. And if you're wondering why I'm not putting heat shrink on this one, well, I'm going to cover the whole thing in heat shrink here in a minute. So and I forgot to put any flux on that. Okay, now that way all the light will be directed forward. So there's that one. Alright. So I've got that one in. Now I'm going to turn this off and I'll do this back one, and then I'll bring you back. And, well, I'll show you what I've got when I get that light done. Okay. So I've got both sets of lights in, and there's our final assembly. So now all I got to do is just put the shell on it and the couplers, but I'm going to try it out here, and then the next time you see this, it'll be up on the test track. All right, I'll be back. All right, we're back here. We've got this project completed. Got it up on the turntable, and of course this is the new Soundtraxx Blunami decoder that's in this, and I mean it's fairly simple install to do. It's easy to connect to the app, and we'll bring up, and we'll run this thing. I'm running it with the app right now. So I've brought up the standard throttle, already connected, and brought it up, and you can see there, as I'm hitting the button, that the light's working. There's our bell, short horn, long horn. Of course, then we can use our slider to move it, to accelerate. But this is a relatively simple app to use. We've got all 28 of our functions. Here's the first 14, so you can see what we're doing there. As you turn them on, they latch, or whatever you need to do. We can dim our light. Our grade crossing. Of course, you can hear all that, and we can switch to our second set of functions, 15 through 28, and you can go down and you can hit all these. So we'll put it back on the first 14, and we'll move that over. The other great thing about that is this is, you know, you don't have to fool with any CVs with this thing. You can just go through and you can change anything. You know, here's all of our settings for our sound. We've got, of course, the master volume. You could change, you know, whatever prime mover you want. And it does it all real time. So you can run through this list of horns. Yeah, whatever you want to do, it's all right there. You know, you've got your other sounds. But it makes it really easy to customize whatever you want for your locomotive. Now you can go through and you can read all of your CVs, you know, like normal. Your speed settings, you can do all that. Consist. Now I'm running this with an iOS with an iPad, and the iOS you can consist with. They do have the Android app, but the Android app is only beta right now, so you can't do any consisting with that. You can calibrate your digital dynamic digital exhaust, and that does work pretty well. So, I mean, everything you want to do is right there on the app. You don't have to remember CVs. You don't have to do any of that. So it's just right in front of you. Just touch it and you're good to go. So this was a fairly simple project to do. The app makes it really fun to work with. But yeah, I'll have to get something similar to this, and then I can consist these together, and we'll see how it works. But in the meantime, this project is complete, and thanks for watching.